From brutally injuring and murdering an innocent girl's parents, to stopping a corrupt businessman from stealing a valuable item, here are 5 of the most heroic, and 5 of the most evil roaming Loomians. As a quick disclaimer, the selected Loomians in this video are based on their Loomipedia entries, characteristics, and impact on the story, rather than popularity. Starting with one of our most evil roaming Loomians, we have one who also happens to be the newest addition to the roaming roster as of making this video, Grimyuline. Grimyuline was first introduced in Loomian Legacy's 2024 holiday event. To unlock it, you must complete the maze minigame to obtain a lost key. Deliver that key to Mr. Jolly, so he can unlock his mansion. Watch a cutscene of you and your friends enjoying a meal there. Then click on Grimyuline, disguised as a tree in a room to initiate the battle. From here on out, the player can either catch it, defeat it, or reset their game to try and obtain a gleaming version of it. As for why it deserves a spot within the evil category, according to Grimyuline's Loomipedia entry, there were stories about how it stalks its prey and attacks those who did not receive new clothes as a present during the holidays. While we don't ever see it attack others, because of the latter reason, in the maze minigame, the very place that you need to be to make progress towards unlocking Grimyuline, it chases and strikes players on sight for no clear motive, confirming that it does indeed attack others. As for the stalking, we just saw in the tutorial for obtaining Grimyuline that it disguises itself as a Christmas tree to jump the player. Not only does it violate the player's privacy, but it also violates Mr. and Mrs. Jolly's privacy as well, and even trespasses into their mansion without permission to do so. This confirms Grimyuline's entry to be mostly true, and what separates it from another roaming that chases you in the corn maze, Nevermore. While only half of Nevermore is sentient, as the pumpkin controls a horse, Grimyuline is completely sentient, since it has the skills and initiative to hide from its prey. Ultimately, this is why Grimyuline is included in this video and not Nevermore. Overall, the newest roaming Loomian's homicidal tendencies, inability to respect people's privacy, and complete control of its actions deem it downright malicious. But the oldest roaming in the game, Duskit, just so happens to be our first of the heroic Loomians. Initially, Duskit was portrayed as an antagonist, as when the player first meets them, they attack the player due to being influenced by a mysterious stone tablet shard, which, upon close contact, corrupts victims by turning them violent and forcing them to attack others in a Loomian battle. However, once Duskit is defeated, it is freed from its corruption, leaves the player alone, and can be found roaming the wild, which means that players can now obtain one themselves through random encounters. Like with Grimyuline, and for most of the other Loomians in this video, its Loomipedia grants us a better understanding of its character, specifically that it protects Cheshire Town from disasters, and is even referred to by your father as the guardian spirit of Gale Forest. Additionally, I recently came across something about Duskit that creates one of the darkest Loomian legacy moments of all time. According to a woman in Cheshire Town, a boy and a Loomian tragically passed away, and the boy's family buried him underneath the tree in Gale Forest, whilst the dead Loomian spirit watched over the forest. This is probably why Duskit is part spirit type, as it is a Loomian that tragically passed away. What makes this so dark is that not only did Duskit lose the one person they care about the most, but they also lost their own life, and is reduced to nothing more than a ghost. However, despite this devastating backstory, Duskit continues to protect others and its fallen trainer, showing that it doesn't let its past define it and continues to push forward with its goals. An honorable mention as to why Duskit is so heroic is that it's also very useful to possess when hunting for rare Loomians, as its signature ability, Harmonize, guarantees wild encounters have the corresponding personality of the Duskit in the front of their party, which can make new Loomians players can obtain much more potent. This only gets an honorable mention because I'm only taking into account characteristics and impact of roamings on the Loomian legacy story, rather than on the fanbase. While Duskit protects the world from devastation, pun intended, this next roaming Loomian, Elephage, infects the world with devastation because of its parasitic tendencies. Obtaining Elephage takes a lot of bargaining and jumping through a plethora of hoops. You must first buy a plush from the arcade in the Atlanthian City Entertainment District, trade the plush for a lost coin from a girl in the same arcade. Trade the coin for an arcade key from a man in the living district of Atlanthean City. Use that key to unlock a door in the arcade. And finally, play them in a game on the arcade machine. Until you match 3 Elephage discs in a row to initiate the Elephage battle. So, after all of that, why exactly is Elephage an evil Loomian? Well, other than the fact that it takes a tedious process to obtain, since it infects other Loomians and overrides their abilities, we can conclude that Elephage is a parasite, putting it under the same umbrella as mosquitoes, fleas, leeches, and even worms. Generally, real-life parasites grant humans nausea, abdominal pain, muscle aches, fevers, fatigue, rashes, death, and many other negative effects on the human body, and we can only assume that Elephage will have the same effects on other Loomians. Even Elephage's origins were pretty shady as well. According to a journal in the room, where you can battle Elephage, that is presumably from an arcade employee, it details how a shady businessman sold them a battery source that summoned crystals on an arcade machine and caused it to malfunction. Moral of the story, never buy things from shady people, especially not batteries, apparently. Now, you might be wondering why Phaganaut, Elephage's evolution, isn't here instead of Elephage. Well, after examining its Lumipedia entry, Phaganaut is more of a hacker than a parasite. Don't get me wrong. Hacking can be a dangerous activity and is even a crime in some countries, but Elephage can cause physical, mental, and emotional harm towards Loomians, and along with its shady beginnings and potential to murder with their viruses, makes it a way worse Loomian than Phaganaut. Elephage may have been infamous for harming others, but Ikazune, on the other hand, is known for not only defending others, but also for its trustworthy nature. Like with Dusket, Ikazune was initially portrayed as an antagonist, but after dissecting its true colors, we can see how compassionate it truly is. After defeating a bunch of corrupted monks, and solving a puzzle inside of the pagoda, the player must face an Ikazune that was corrupted by another stone tablet shard that presumably flew into the building and broke its wall. Also like Dusket, it returns to its normal state once it's defeated, leaves the pagoda, and can now be found roaming in the wild. In its entry, we learn that it is loyal to samurai, smites its foes with lightning, that violates their territory, and goes on a journey to warn others of potential danger. That last part is similar to Absol from Pokemon, minus it being misunderstood as causing danger rather than sensing and warning people about it. You can argue that the second sentence makes it seem too violent, but keep in mind that Ikazune's enemies attacked its territory first, so it only did it out of self-defense. Additionally, foxes are in the same family as dogs, and dogs are generally known to be very loyal. Therefore, it would make sense for Ikazune to be so loyal to its trainers as it's technically man's best friend. You could also make the argument that it's more heroic than Dusket, as while Dusket is only known to protect Cheshire Town, Ikazune is known to protect more of Roria through its journey. For all of these reasons, it should be no surprise that Ikazune should be a top-tier heroic Loomian. If you're loyal to me, similar to how loyal Ikazune is to its trainers, why not drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video so far? It motivates me to make more videos like this one. If I ever make a part 2 to this video, I'll find a way to add some of the roaming Loomians that got left out of this video. Anyway, let's continue with the video. The next two evil and heroic Loomians are often associated with each other and are known to be polar opposites, so we will talk about them together. These Loomians are Nymesis and Nemori. Obtaining both Loomians is relatively simple. For Nemori, you must place an angel food cake on a pedestal in either the Sweet Retreat or Trick Retreat, and then the Loomian will appear. For Nymesis, it's the same process, except you must place a Devil's Food cake on a different pedestal in the Trick Retreat only. However, while the methods to summon these Loomians are very similar, their temperaments are much different. According to the shopkeeper in Sweet Retreat, the workers there run some experiments by placing soul crystal dust into their desserts. After doing so, the dust brought the desserts to life, which confused the workers as it doesn't normally do that, and they think that some other factor was involved. This third-party source is likely memory, as its entry details how it only appears in areas with sweet scents, like Sweet Retreat, and releases powerful feelings onto others, which could also translate to granting non-sentient objects sentience. Memory is, in a way, similar to Xerneas from Pokemon, as both can grant life, assuming that the former was the one who brought the desserts in Sweet Retreat to life. Nymesis, on the other hand, was intentionally designed to be the polar opposite of Memory. Its sentry informs us that it was not only born from a nightmare, which is already not the best sign, but also invokes fear onto others. What a jerk. Just imagine someone minding their own business in Trick or Treat, only to get jump-scared by some Loomian. It only makes sense that the Angel Loomian was designed to be physically and figuratively sweet, while the Devil Loomian was designed to be mischievous and aggressive. Returning to roaming Loomians who aren't associated with other roamings is Odoyaga, the second to last evil Loomian we will be discussing in this video. Like some of the other roaming Loomians, acquiring Odoyaga is a long tedious process. First, you must win a key in the gift exchange in the haunted village. Next, you must use the key to unlock a gate that allows the player to enter a wooden shack. Then, you must talk to an elderly lady to trigger some puzzles created by an evil spirit, solve the puzzles, and that will unlock Odoyaga as a set encounter to battle or catch. As I just mentioned, Odoyaga appears to be made of evil spirits, which is automatically a reason why it should be included with the evil Loomians. Evil spirits? Evil Loomians? Come on. Additionally, it's also a very manipulative Loomian, as it tricks the player into unlocking its true form by making it solve the aforementioned puzzles. Can you imagine if this were to happen in real life, and an evil spirit made you solve 5 grueling difficult puzzles, only to find out it was to help make the spirit more powerful? That would definitely frustrate a lot of people, especially with the added detriment of potentially getting killed by the sinful soul. As the icing on the cake, its Lumipedia entry remarks how it's not only mischievous, which we've already established with the manipulation, but also creates cyclones whenever it's infuriated. So, on top of being manipulative and composed of evil spirits, it's also a very destructive Loomian, as cyclones have been known to kill about 800,000 people in real life. Combining all of these factors makes Odoyaga one of the most malicious roaming Loomians of all time. Odoyaga may be very cunning and catastrophic, but Glucadia, our next heroic Loomian, is known for its merciful nature. I originally wanted this entry to be Navadius rather than Glucadia, as it serves to control both Glucadia and Arceus' extreme ideologies, and was also an effective ruler according to a mural in Judgment's Keep, but then I found out that once the corruption stole their egg, they destroyed their kingdom out of revenge, which isn't very heroic. I also thought I had the option of using Morphizu, Behemoth, and Leviatris since they fought against the corruption and even died as a species as a result, but those aren't considered roamings by the wiki, and whether or not they are considered roaming by the community depends on who you ask. So, the only heroic Loomian left is Glucadia, and the reason why Arceus isn't in this video is because I didn't find out about Navadius' wrongdoings until after the Odoyaga part of the video was written, so I didn't want that part of the script to go to waste just to add Arceus in its place. Besides, Odoyaga is way more evil than Arceus anyway, as I just established, it's very manipulative and destructive, whereas Arceus only has a fiery judgment and nothing else that makes it evil. Circling back to Glucadia, catching one for the first time is yet another long process. You must first defeat a bunch of Soul Burst Loomians to get a bunch of items to unlock the Judgment's Keep, the location where you catch Glucadia. Then you must solve yet another puzzle to unlock yet another area, then obtain an obsidian seal, which contains a message stating you must choose either Arceus or Glucadia to catch. Then finally, after actually collecting the seal, it allows you to catch either Loomian, and the one you don't catch disappears. As I just established, Glucadia is the most compassionate and innocent between it, Arceus, and Navadius. Its sentry reveals that whenever it judges people, it uses its gentle mercy to do so. When comparing this Arceus, who uses a fiery judgment against its enemies, and Navadius, who seeks revenge after being wronged by the corruption, it's easy to see why Glucadia is the most heroic Loomian of the three. but compared to all of the evil Loomians in this video, and in Loomian Legacy overall, this next roaming Loomian is infamous for arguably being the most evil roaming of all time. It is also one of the only Loomians with a confirmed body count, and is one I've talked about in many of my videos already, Mutagen. With the help of a keycard you can find in Vantacorp, players can unlock Mutagen by using said keycard on an elevator that leads to the Vantacorp vault. All you have to do is solve, you guessed it, another puzzle using clues inside some journals scattered around the vault, watch a cutscene detailing Mutagen's backstory, and press a button to unleash Mutagen and initiate its battle. Speaking of Mutagen's backstory, it is one that I have covered in many of my previous videos, as I mentioned earlier in the video. However, in case you don't know about it, I'll describe it now. Remember those journals that contained clues for how to open the door that lets you access Mutagen? Well, those same journals also include a story of an accident where Mutagen severely injured a young girl and murdered her parents in a car crash. This girl is implied to be Faust, the battle star of Sephirite City, and as we can see, the injuries perpetrated by Mutagen consisted of mutilating both of her legs and her right arm, which is beyond cruel. Additionally, in the aforementioned cutscene that played before unleashing Mutagen, Dr. Vanta, the lethal Loomian's creator, is seen locking it in its chamber after the accident, which implies that it was too dangerous to be released into the outside world, while roaming Loomians like Grimyuline have only been seen trying to kill people, as whenever it attacks you in the maze minigame, it doesn't kill you, and other roamings have their characteristics limited to only their Lumipedia entries. Mutagen can demonstrate how dangerous it is by successfully murdering 2 people and mutilating an innocent child. It also, as of making this video, is one of the few Loomians and characters in Loomian Legacy to have a body count, the others being Dr. Vanta, Navadius, and Akuri. Mutagen will forever be infamous as the most evil roaming Loomian, but conversely, Takuda might become famous for being the most heroic Loomian, and here's why. Takuda's first appearance is technically from a mural that appeared during the cutscene that described the origins of not only the corruption, but also the Soul Heart, an ancient artifact that granted Loomians the ability to transform into their soul burst evolutions. Fast forward to the climax of the second part of the Atlanthean City update, where Takuda appears physically for the first time ever. According to Mr. Ferrix, Takuda was tasked with protecting the Soul Heart and eradicating anyone who threatens its safety. Fittingly, Dr. Vanta was this threat during the climax, and with the assistance of the player who allowed it to turn into overcharged Takuda, it was able to defeat Vanta and his Jetwing Stratosaur. However, Vanta still tried stealing the Soul Heart, which ultimately failed and caused a flood that caused everyone in the ruins to evacuate. Before the player leaves, Takuda gives them its Soul Burst Crystal along with one of the items needed to unlock the Judgment's Keep, which, if you don't remember, is the location where you unlock and catch either Arceus or Glacadia. After the player leaves, they also unlock the ability to find Takuda in the wild, allowing them to acquire one of these selfless species of their own. It's easy to see why Takuda is arguably the most heroic roaming Loomian in Loomian Legacy thanks to this cutscene. Not only is it competent, diligent, and loyal to its assigned job to protect the Soul Heart, but they also prevented Dr. Vanta, a corrupt businessman and criminal, from unleashing his plans. If Vanta were to get his hands on the Soul Heart, he would have used it to gain more power and further his evil agenda, but thanks to Takuda, Vanta is one step behind from achieving his malicious goals, and the Aurea region lives on to see another day. Also, like with Mutagen, Takuda demonstrates how heroic it is beyond its Lumipedia entry, as all it says there is how it reincarnates whenever it becomes too old. Both Takuda and Mutagen highlight the importance of show, don't tell, as they both perform moral and immoral actions, respectively, rather than just being told about them in Lumipedia entries. Because of Takuda's dedication, heroism, and charitable actions in granting the player the Soul Crystal and Judgment's Keep piece, we can conclude that Takuda is the most heroic of all of the roaming Loomians that reside in Aurea.